A billionaire went undercover, expecting to find a thief among his staff. Instead, he found a waitress whose eyes held a fear he couldn't explain. Hours later, he overheard her whispering into her phone, shaken. Gee, what he heard wasn't meant for him, or anyone. And it left him with a choice that could destroy everything he thought he controlled. Marcus Chun stood in front of the mirror in his penthouse apartment, adjusting his casual sweater. At 35 years old, he had everything most people dreamed of. He owned the Meridian Hotel Group, a chain of luxury hotels worth billions of dollars. His grandfather had started with one small hotel, and Marcus had turned it into an empire. But lately, something was wrong with his favorite property in Chicago. Money was disappearing. Guests were complaining more than usual. His manager kept saying everything was fine, but the numbers told a different story. Marcus had built his success on one simple rule: trust but verify. He never took anyone's word without checking for himself. That's why he decided to do something unusual. He would check into his own hotel pretending to be a regular guest. He would watch his employees when they didn't know the owner was watching. He would see the truth that his managers were hiding from him. On a cold November evening, Marcus arrived at the Meridian Chicago carrying just one leather bag. He had left his expensive watch at home and wore simple jeans and a black sweater. He checked in using a fake name, Marcus Liu, and told the staff he was a businessman from San Francisco. Nobody recognized him. Nobody knew that the quiet guest in room 1427 was actually their boss. For 2 days, Marcus watched everything. He sat in the lobby and observed the front desk staff looking at their phones instead of greeting guests. He saw bellhops accepting tips and then complaining the amounts were too small. He noticed bartenders pouring extra drinks for their friends. He watched maintenance workers taking long breaks. Small things, but they added up. His hotel was not running the way it should. On his third evening, Marcus decided to have dinner at the hotel restaurant called the Pinnacle. It was an upscale place with soft lighting and expensive wine. He had designed it himself 5 years ago. He chose a corner table where he could watch the entire dining room. He wanted to see how the servers treated guests when they thought nobody important was watching. That's when he first noticed her. She was young, probably in her mid-20s, with dark hair pulled back neatly. Her name tag said Sophia. She moved through the restaurant differently than the other servers. While others chatted and laughed between tables, she worked with intense focus. She refilled water glasses before guests asked. She remembered which customers needed extra napkins. She smiled at everyone, not the fake smile of someone pretending, but a real smile that reached her eyes. When Sophia came to his table, Marcus decided to test her. "I'll have the salmon," he said. "Medium rare." It was a trick question. Salmon should never be cooked medium rare because of food safety, but many servers would just write it down without thinking. Sophia's smile didn't fade, but he saw the professionalism in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, sir, but salmon is best served medium to medium well for safety reasons. Our chef makes it perfectly with crispy skin and tender inside. But if you prefer something rare, our filet mignon is excellent." She had corrected him without making him feel stupid. She knew what she was talking about. Marcus was impressed. Throughout his meal, he continued watching her. Other servers forgot to check on their tables or refilled wine glasses late. But Sophia seemed to know exactly what each guest needed before they asked. She helped train a new server with patience. She stayed calm when a customer complained about something that wasn't her fault. She wasn't just doing a job. She genuinely cared about doing it well. After Marcus finished eating, an idea came to him. He had been watching employees, but he hadn't really tested them. He wanted to know what people would do when nobody was looking. He paid his bill in cash and left a good tip. But as he stood up to leave, he did something deliberate. He left his wallet on the table, tucked partially under his napkin. Inside the wallet was $800 in cash, several credit cards, and his fake ID. It looked like an accident, like he had simply forgotten it. Marcus walked toward the hotel lobby but didn't go far. He positioned himself behind a large marble column where he could see his table through a glass partition. He stood there and waited to see what would happen. Would Sophia take the money? Would she ignore it? Would she turn it in? This test would tell him what kind of person she really was. 5 minutes passed. Then Sophia returned to clear his table. She picked up the plates and folded the napkin. Suddenly she stopped. She had found the wallet. Marcus watched her carefully, studying every movement. Sophia picked up the wallet and looked around the restaurant. She was clearly trying to find him. But here's what impressed Marcus most. She didn't open the wallet. She didn't check how much money was inside. She didn't even peek at the credit cards. She just held it carefully in both hands and walked straight to the hostess stand. He watched her speaking urgently with the hostess, pointing toward where he had been sitting. The hostess checked something on the computer while Sophia waited, clutching the wallet like it was something precious. When they couldn't find his information, Sophia walked quickly toward the front desk in the lobby. Marcus followed at a distance, staying out of sight but close enough to hear. "Excuse me," Sophia said to the desk clerk, slightly breathless. "A guest left this in the restaurant. His name should be Marcus Liu. Can you call his room? He just left a few minutes ago. He might not know it's missing yet." The clerk took the wallet and started searching the computer system. "Let me check. Mr. Liu, room 1427. I'll call right away." Sophia nodded. "Thank you. Please tell him I'll wait here in case he comes back down looking for it. I don't want him to panic." Marcus felt something unexpected. Most people in this city would have pocketed at least some of the cash. They would have called it a finder's fee and justified it somehow. But Sophia hadn't even looked inside. She had immediately tried to return it and was now waiting on her own time, even though her shift was probably ending soon, just to make sure he got it back safely. In a world where everyone seemed to be looking for shortcuts and easy money, here was someone who simply did the right thing. He stepped out from behind the column and approached the desk. "I believe you have something of mine?" Sophia turned around quickly, and relief washed over her face. "Oh, thank God. Yes, you left this at your table. I was so worried you'd be looking for it everywhere." Marcus took the wallet from the clerk and made a show of checking inside. Everything was there, exactly as he'd left it. He pulled out a $100 bill and held it out to Sophia. "Please take this as a thank you. You saved me a lot of trouble." But Sophia stepped back and shook her head firmly. "No, sir, I couldn't possibly accept that. I was just doing what anyone should do." "Most people wouldn't," Marcus said quietly, and he absolutely meant it. He had seen enough of the world to know that honesty like this was rare. Sophia gave him a small smile. "Then most people aren't doing their job right. I'm just glad you have it back. Have a good evening, Mr. Liu." She turned and walked back toward the restaurant, leaving Marcus standing there with the $100 bill still in his hand. Marcus returned to his room but couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. He had come to this hotel expecting to find theft and laziness. He had found plenty of that among other staff members. But he had also found something he wasn't looking for, someone with genuine integrity. Sophia could have taken that money so easily. She probably needed it. Young servers at fancy restaurants didn't make much in salary. They relied on tips. $800 would have made a real difference in her life. But she hadn't even been tempted. An hour later, Marcus went back downstairs. He told himself he was just getting a drink at the bar, but really he wanted to observe Sophia a bit more. He sat at the corner of the bar where he could see into the restaurant. The dinner service was winding down. Most tables were empty now. Sophia was clearing dishes from a table near the back when something happened. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She pulled it out and glanced at the screen. In that instant, everything about her changed. All the color drained from her face. Her hands started shaking. She looked around quickly, almost panicked, clearly trying to find someone to cover her station. But the other servers were busy and the floor manager was nowhere in sight. Sophia hurried toward the back of the restaurant, near the wait station where servers kept their supplies. It was only a few feet from where Marcus sat at the bar, separated by a decorative partition. She couldn't see him, but he could hear everything. He knew he shouldn't listen to a private phone call. He knew it was wrong. But something about her sudden distress made him stay completely still, hidden behind the architectural column. Sophia answered the phone with trembling hands. "Hello? Yes, this is she." Her voice was already shaking. There was a pause, and Marcus could hear a faint voice on the other end though he couldn't make out the words. "What do you mean the payment didn't go through?" Sophia's voice cracked. "I authorized it last week. I sold my laptop. I sent everything I had." Another long pause. Marcus found himself holding his breath. "Please," Sophia continued, her voice dropping to an urgent whisper. "Please don't discharge her. She needs at least 3 more weeks of treatment." The doctors said. Her voice broke completely, and she pressed her hand over her mouth to muffle a sob. Marcus remained frozen behind the column. Every instinct told him to walk away, to give this young woman her privacy. But something deeper kept him rooted to the spot. He needed to understand what was happening. "I understand the facility has policies," Sophia said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "But I'm begging you. Give me until Friday. I get paid Thursday night. I can give you half then, and I'll figure out the rest somehow. I'll pick up extra shifts. I'll do anything." She listened for a moment, and then her shoulders sagged like someone had cut the strings holding her up. 2 days? You're only giving her 2 more days before transferring her to county care. The desperation in those words hit Marcus like a physical punch to his chest. "No, please, you don't understand. County can't handle her condition. She needs specialized care for the seizures. If she has another episode without the right medication," Sophia pressed her hand against the wall, clearly fighting tears. "I'll find the money. I swear I'll find it. Just please don't move her. She's only 12 years old. She's my sister. I'm all she has." Marcus felt his chest tighten painfully. A 12-year-old girl. A sister who needed specialized medical care. Sophia was supporting a sick child on a waitress salary. Suddenly everything made sense. The intensity in her work. The way she never wasted a moment. The absolute honesty even when presented with $800 that could have helped. She was carrying an impossible weight, and somehow she still showed up every day and did her job with grace and excellence. After a few more moments, Sophia ended the call. She stood against the wall for almost 30 seconds, breathing hard like she had just run a race. Then, with visible effort, she straightened her uniform. She wiped her eyes carefully. She took 3 deep breaths. And then she walked back onto the restaurant floor wearing the same professional smile she had worn all evening. Marcus watched in amazement as she checked on her last few tables, refilling drinks and clearing plates. Her hands trembled slightly when she thought nobody was watching, but her service never faltered. That night, alone in his hotel room, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about that phone call. A 25-year-old woman trying to save her 12-year-old sister. Medical bills she couldn't possibly afford. Treatment facilities threatening to move the child to inadequate care. And through it all, Sophia kept working, kept trying, kept fighting. She hadn't stolen his wallet even though that money might have bought her sister a few more days of treatment. That level of integrity was beyond rare. It was extraordinary. Marcus picked up his phone and called Richard, his head of security. "I need you to find information about one of our employees. Sophia, she works at the Pinnacle restaurant. I need her full employment record and any background you can find. But do it quietly. I don't want anyone to know I'm asking." Richard hesitated. "Is there a problem, sir?" Marcus stared out at the Chicago skyline. No problem. I just need to understand something." By morning, Marcus had the information on his laptop. Sophia Reyes, 25 years old, hired 3 months ago. Previous employment showed she had worked at 2 other restaurants, a coffee shop, and a grocery store, all at the same time until she got this job. No complaints in her record. Excellent performance reviews. And then the personal information. Parents deceased 4 years ago in a car accident. Legal guardian to her younger sister, Elena Reyes, age 12. Elena had been diagnosed with severe juvenile epilepsy requiring specialized treatment and expensive medication. Marcus scrolled down to the financial information. Medical bills, $127,000 and still climbing. Sophia's annual salary, $32,000 plus whatever tips she made. The math was impossible. There was no way she could ever pay those bills. And yet she was trying. She was working herself to exhaustion, sacrificing everything, refusing to give up on her sister. Marcus closed his laptop and sat in silence for a long time. He thought about his own sister, Lily. When she was 15, she had been diagnosed with leukemia. It had been the worst year of his family's life. But they had money. They could afford the best doctors, the best hospitals, the experimental treatments that saved her life. Lily was now 30 years old, healthy and happy, living in Seattle with her family. But what if they hadn't had money? What if teenage Marcus had been responsible for saving her with nothing but a minimum wage job? The thought made him feel physically sick. He made a decision then, though he knew it would be complicated. He couldn't just hand Sophia a check for $127,000. He had seen the pride in her eyes, the dignity in the way she carried herself. She had refused a $100 tip for returning his wallet. She would never accept what she would see as charity, especially from a stranger. It would embarrass her. It would make her feel small and pitted. He needed to help her in a way that preserved her dignity, in a way that let her keep her pride. Over the next few days, Marcus made several phone calls. First, he called his attorney. "I want to set up a foundation. Call it the Meridian Employee Assistance Fund. It will provide emergency financial support for employees facing serious hardship like medical emergencies or family crises. Applications will be reviewed by an independent board, not by me. I want it to be fair and legitimate." His attorney was quiet for a moment. "That's very generous, Marcus. Any particular reason you're doing this now?" Marcus looked at the photo on his laptop screen, the fundraising page he had found for Elena Reyes. "Because I should have done it 10 years ago. People work for me, and I never thought about what they might be dealing with outside these hotels. That was wrong." Next, he called Riverside Specialty Care Center where Elena was being treated. This time he used his real name. "My name is Marcus Chen. I'm calling about establishing a scholarship fund for patients who can't afford epilepsy treatment. My sister had epilepsy as a teenager, and I know how expensive the care can be. I want to help families who are struggling." The director of the center sounded stunned. "Mr. Chen, that would be incredible. We have several young patients whose families simply cannot afford the specialized treatment they need. The difference between proper care and inadequate care can mean these children having normal lives or suffering daily seizures. Draw up a proposal for a permanent fund," Marcus said. "I want it properly endowed so it continues helping patients for years. And I want one of your current patients, Elena Reyes, to be the first recipient. Her treatment should continue for as long as she needs it, and her family shouldn't receive a single bill." There was a long pause. "Mr. Chen, that will change that child's life. And her sister's life." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I know. That's exactly what I want." Finally, Marcus called the general manager of the Chicago hotel. "I want you to create a new position, Guest Experience Director. It's a management role with a significant salary increase and full benefits including health insurance that covers family members. I've been observing the staff, and I think Sophia Reyes from the Pinnacle restaurant would be perfect for it." The manager sounded confused. "Sophia? She's only been here 3 months, and she's just a server," Marcus cut him off. "She's not just anything. She's exactly what this hotel needs. Someone who genuinely cares about doing things right. Offer her the position today." That evening, Marcus sat at his usual table in the Pinnacle one last time. He watched Sophia work her section. She looked exhausted, the kind of tired that sleep couldn't fix. He wondered how long she had been running on empty, pushing herself past every reasonable limit because someone she loved depended on her. Halfway through dinner service, the general manager appeared and quietly spoke with Sophia. Marcus saw her expression change from confusion to disbelief to something that looked like hope mixed with fear. She glanced across the restaurant, and for just a moment her eyes met his. There was a question in her look, as if somehow she sensed he was connected to this. But Marcus simply smiled slightly and returned his attention to his meal, giving her no answers. The next morning, Marcus checked out of the hotel. His undercover investigation had revealed problems that needed fixing. Some employees needed better training. A few needed to be fired. But more importantly, he had discovered what real excellence looked like. It wasn't about following rules or maximizing efficiency. It was about integrity that came from deep inside, the kind that couldn't be faked or taught. As he handed his room key to the front desk, he saw Sophia enter through the main lobby. She was wearing business clothes instead of her uniform, clearly heading to the HR office for her interview. She saw him at the same moment. For a few seconds, they simply looked at each other across the busy lobby. Then Sophia smiled, a real smile that transformed her tired face, and she nodded slightly. It was a gesture of acknowledgement and perhaps gratitude for something she couldn't quite name but somehow understood. Marcus nodded back. Then he walked out into the cold Chicago morning feeling something he hadn't felt in years. 2 weeks later, Marcus received an email from Riverside Specialty Care Center. The scholarship fund had been officially established and approved. Elena Reyes was the first recipient. Her treatment would continue uninterrupted for as long as necessary. That same day, Sophia Reyes officially started her new position as Guest Experience Director. Her salary had tripled. Her health insurance now covered both her and Elena completely. Marcus never told Sophia he was behind any of it. He watched from a distance as the Meridian Employee Assistance Fund began helping other employees. A housekeeper whose husband had cancer received help with medical bills. A maintenance worker whose house burned down got assistance rebuilding. A front desk clerk putting 3 kids through college alone received educational support. The fund wasn't charity. It was recognition that employees were human beings with real struggles, and helping them was simply the right thing to do. 6 months later, Marcus returned to Chicago for an official visit. Sophia, now confident and thriving in her management role, gave him a tour of the improvements they had made to guest services. As they walked through the lobby, Marcus noticed a plaque on the wall. The Meridian Employee Assistance Fund, because everyone deserves a chance to thrive. Sophia stopped beside him and looked at the plaque. "That fund changed my life," she said quietly. "My sister's life. I don't know who established it, but they saved us when I had nothing left. They gave me hope when I was drowning." Marcus kept his face neutral and professional. "Sounds like the money was well spent." Sophia turned to look directly at him, and there was something knowing in her eyes. It was more than money. It was someone choosing to see employees as people, as human beings worth investing in. She paused. Whoever made that choice didn't just change policies. They changed lives. Marcus met her gaze. Maybe they learned something important. Maybe they realized that real success isn't measured in revenue alone. Sophia smiled, a smile that told him she understood more than she was saying. Maybe they did. As Marcus left the hotel that afternoon, he thought about the man he had been 6 months ago when he first checked in. He had been focused on catching thieves and fixing problems, measuring everything in profit and loss. He had found what he was looking for, but not in the way he expected. He had posed as a guest to discover dishonesty. Instead, he had witnessed a phone call that revealed more about real integrity than any investigation ever could. In helping one young woman who refused to give up on her sister, he had discovered a truth that would shape every decision going forward. The measure of a person or a company wasn't in their bank account. It was in what they did when they had the power to change someone's life and chose to use it. The Meridian Hotel Group continued to grow and expand. But under Marcus Chen's leadership, it became known for something beyond luxury. It became known as a company that genuinely cared about its people. And every time Marcus walked through one of his hotels, he remembered Sophia's voice on that desperate phone call. The determination and refusal to give up even when everything seemed impossible. That was the sound of someone worth believing in. That was the sound that had changed everything. That was the moment he learned that the best investment he could ever make wasn't in buildings or profits, but in people who had the courage to keep fighting even when the world felt impossibly heavy. And that lesson, Marcus knew, was worth more than all the money in the world.